All right, welcome everybody to the first episode and installment of the newest unfiltered sports talk show, Off the Bench Banter, where we're just kind of going to bring you guys all things sports. As the name suggests, me and my college buddy Ryan Somerville here. My name's Austin Sterling. A little bit about myself. I'm going into my senior year at the University of Florida. I work up there as cameraman and production assistant for a lot of the SEC sports, such as baseball, basketball, soccer, hopefully going to be football in this upcoming fall. So I'm always around sports, kind of what I do for work, what I do for school as well. So I'm always around SEC sports and I just love being around it. Get to see a lot of cool things, hoping to bring a lot of my unique perspective to you guys on this podcast. And there's my co-host, Ryan Somerville.
Hey guys, I'm Ryan. A little bit about myself. I'm also a current senior at the University of Florida. I live in the South Florida area, and I'm with the Caribbean Baseball Organization for the summer. We're helping organize several different tournaments: the Charles Johnson's Collegiate Summer League, the World Comes to Palm Beach's tournament in October. So if anyone's in the area, check us out. Let me know. Would love to meet some faces. So a little bit about our podcast. We're going to be bringing you guys all the latest sports news, everything breaking from injuries to trades, signings. We're also going to be giving fantasy advice, our take on all betting picks, as well as bring you weekly guests, having new perspectives, and even throwing in some giveaway opportunities.
Yeah, and as you guys kind of tell from this intro, it's our first time doing this. So you're gonna have to bear with us a little bit. Gonna be a little stiff at first, but we do want to keep it a little bit loose. We want to keep it fun. We got a lot of creative segments, and especially when we get back to school in the fall, I think we're gonna have a lot of just creative elements we can kind of add into our content, whether that's being at the game, kind of a behind the scenes on the field, on the court type views of things to be posted to our socials and stuff. We got a lot of great ideas, but this is just us kind of trying to get introduced to you guys, kind of set the ground base level for what we want to do. Like you said, we're going to be talking about a lot of different stuff here, pretty wide variety. We also want to hear what you guys want us to talk about. So, feel free to let us know in the comments. Let's get into it, man. Our first segment here, breaking news. It's going to be called the Fast Break Recap. We're starting off with a little bit of soccer, which I'll come right out and say it's not my area of expertise per se, but you guys will be along with me in this journey of getting into soccer. And I'll let my co-host here give his expertise input into what's been going on in the Euros so far.
No, for sure. So a little background about myself, guys. I've been playing soccer for 10, 12 years, played varsity soccer, had some college offers that I declined, pursued my education. But point
Like
is,
we all do.
yeah, big love for the game. And obviously MLS is kind of a trash league. So big Manchester United fan, and I watch, all the tournaments, all the leagues. So, any questions, betting questions, just general soccer questions, I always love to talk soccer. So give us
I'm
a
going to have
message.
some questions.
I'm sure you will.
I'm
All
going
right,
to
so
have
let's
some
get into
questions,
it.
bro. I don't know shit about soccer. Let's get into it,
So
though.
Copa America starting up soon. We had international friendlies. I'm going to focus on the U.S. a little bit. First game versus Colombia, we got absolutely smacked 5-1. The team looked awful. Greg Berhalter, head coach, was pretty much on the hot seat ever since they scored 2 goals. The team just looked in shambles, couldn't defend, couldn't possess the ball. Big question going into Copa America, a tournament that's our first year ever participating in. And we're playing Brazil in our second international friendly, the favorite for the tournament. So we go in and we pull a 1-1 draw from Brazil. The best team, Rodrigo, Vinicius, Endrick, bunch of Real Madrid guys. Got to give credit to the team. 1-1's a huge result. I know the friendlies don't really mean much, but in terms of momentum, it's a huge start. Huge start for us.
Well, I got a question because, we talked about it earlier. And obviously, as I mentioned, I'm not too keen on my soccer knowledge, but I'm trying to improve it. But, you mentioned to me, like you said, Brazil's the favorite to win. We played a great match against them and earned a draw, got smacked by Brazil. I mean, what do you think are some like realistic expectations if you're a USA fan? It's a big deal to even be in Copa, I feel like, in the first place, from what I've gathered. Like, what are a realistic expectation if you're a USA fan going into this tournament? What do you think?
So yeah, so it's our first time ever playing. So, it's really exciting to see us matched up against all these powerhouses. You just have Argentina, who just won the 22 World Cup, still has Messi. Brazil is, loaded with European talent. Um, Honestly, I want to see us get out of the group. We've got a decent group. We've got Uruguay, we've got Panama, and we've got Bolivia. So that's two winnable games. And Uruguay, hopefully we take a draw. So, I mean, at the minimum, I want to see this team get out of the group. It's kind of gearing up for the 26th World Cup, which is going to be hosted in the U.S. They announced the final is going to be held at MetLife. A big Giants fan myself. Hopefully, we don't
I'm
see
a
some
Jets
Saquon
fan, so
Barkley type injuries
yeah, let's
where
put some fucking grass in
you
there.
got Ronaldo, you got Vinicius tearing ACLs on MetLife. Don't want to see that
Please
shit.
no.
It's probably gonna happen. But yeah, so that's my honest opinion. I just want to see us play the good teams well, get out of the group. Maybe make a run. This is the first team we've had with a bunch of European players. Our captain
Yeah, that's
Pulisic
what I
in
heard.
Italy. It's
And you can
it's
correct
it's
me if
all
I'm
love.
wrong, but it's a little bit of a younger team too, right? A
Yeah, for sure. So our
little bit
captain's
younger and
Pulisic, and he's
experienced.
24. He's been in
Uh-huh.
Europe for a while,
I remember
but
him from the World Cup.
yeah. So yeah, that's a little about
Yeah,
the US. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
just gonna
there are
go
some other
into.
scores, and I actually peeped one of these with Albania scoring the fastest goal in Euros history in 22 seconds. I peeped that. I watched that, and I watched Italy respond quickly after, and then they scored another in the next 20 minutes, winning that match 2-1. Spain dominated Croatia, and I know we talked about this one. I actually heard, so I just came back from Scotland a few weeks ago. My dad's side of the family's from there. That's where their heritage is at. So we were going checking out Stirling Castle and everything. Is my last name Sterling, Scottish last name. Apparently, all the Scots were getting rowdy for that game, and we're flying out to Germany because they never, are usually in this tournament. They're never usually as good, and they got absolutely fucking blasted by Germany 5-1. Give me your opinion on that show.
So Germany is the host country, so they came out firing. So much momentum in that team. They went up 2-0 early. It looked like Scotland was playing, so they play a high line, which means there's a lot of space between the back of the defense and the goal. So Germany was just passing through them, and so they're the better team. They're able to make those passes. Come halftime, Scotland gets a red card, penalty in the box, 3-0. The game's over by then. But I'll be honest, we did see a good adjustment from the Scottish head coach. He kind of parked the bus with the defense. It's called a low block, where all the defense is pretty much in their own box, forcing Germany to pass the ball around, take long shots. They still gave up 2 goals, and they got one back, which I was not expecting in the second half. But, props to them for the late adjustment. But in my opinion, you can't be coming out opening game against a host country with those type of tactics.
Moving on to baseball, which is something I can talk about for hours on end. So we've got MLB obviously, but I want to kind of put that to the side for 1 second and move to more relevant at the moment of college baseball, with College Baseball World Series taking place in Omaha. And let me just say, this has been some of the most electric baseball, like most fun baseball I've seen in some time now. The College World Series always is. I think college baseball has, it's an underrated playoffs because it's not ever going to touch the numbers of March Madness or college football playoffs or anything like that. But I think it is truly one of the best playoff environments, playoff tournament styles and vibes. It's just really good fun. I think it's really good for the game of baseball. And when people tune in, I feel like it always makes new fans. But some of the things have been going on lately in that. So FSU today, actually, we're recording this on Sunday. FSU just knocked Virginia out. They went 0-2 for the second year in a row. Kind of fraudulent. Both years they get in, they sneak in, and then they look good, and then they get smacked by real competition. So not much to really say about that. And Florida State's a great team this year. They lost a heartbreaker to I believe it was North Carolina the other day. Let me just check that. Nope, to Tennessee. Forgot. They lost a heartbreaker to Tennessee, which was a walk-off. The first 3 games of the College World Series were walk-offs. Christian Moore hit for the cycle. That was a crazy game. I don't know how much of it you've been able to catch, but What are your
I've
thoughts on
definitely
that?
been seeing the highlights. Like the 3 walk-offs is
Yeah,
pretty crazy, see all the Instagram stuff. I've been following Florida baseball. I did not think we were gonna make the tournament. We had a crazy
no, me
run to get
neither.
there. I'm a big baseball guy myself. I'm a big MLB guy. But college baseball, when it gets down to the tournament, gets down to, winner get out, it's exciting, I will say.
Yeah, it's super exciting. And I mean, obviously, we're both Gator guys being from UF. Um, I got the privilege of working a lot with the baseball team, as I said, as a cameraman and in the control room. So I was around the team a lot throughout the year when I was up there at school. And yeah, no, I agree with it. I mean, I thought we were going to make the tournament, but the way we played, we really probably didn't truly deserve to. Got in a little bit based on name value and just kind of the potential what we can do, which was obviously the right decision because we whooped ass in the regionals and super regionals and made it to Omaha. So, I mean, regardless, it was the right decision to put us in the tournament. But we just lost a heartbreaker last night to friggin' Texas A&M, 3-2 robbery of home run in the top of the ninth. Pretty brutal way to go out. And Sully had a questionable moment early in that game where he could have challenged the play. A lot of people thought the kid was out at third. Dale Thomas grabbed the ball right on the third base line, hesitated a little bit. He thought he was going to throw it to first, but then just ran to third. Probably still got him out, but it was a bang bang play, called him safe. And Sully doesn't challenge it. Next pitch, wild pitch with 2 outs, and they get a run. So that was, unfortunate. And we end up losing by 1, ends up costing you the game a little bit. But I mean, the real reason we lost that game was the abysmal production of 3, 4, and 5. I mean, the hitters in our lineup was Ashton Wilson and Shelton looked like they were swinging blind up there. I mean, you throw them an outside slider, well, inside slider to Shelton, outside slider to Ashton Wilson every time is a free swing and miss. He was looking like Giancarlo Stanton up there, fucking swinging with his eyes closed. It was brutal. They were pitching to Cags, and Cags was raking, but you can only do so much. They walked him in that last inning. They did pitch to him, but they walked him. And you get Ashton up there, and he just wasn't ready for that moment. But yeah, any thoughts on the upcoming road for Florida? I mean, next loss and we're out.
Yeah, I mean, if Ashton Wilson's striking out 4 times a game, hitting him 3-hole,
It was.
I
I
don't know what
looked
to
at this
say.
too. It was 0 for 8 with 7 strikeouts from 3 and 4 hole.
Like, at least
Right
put the
behind
ball in
Jack
play.
Caglione.
Like, you can't be swinging at 12-foot sliders outside. Like,
And the thing is, if there's no protection behind Cags, teams are just going to stop pitching to him. Because why would
yeah,
you pitch to him? He's the best hitter in college baseball left. Why would you pitch to him when the 2 people behind you are free outs? Like, it's
yeah,
brutal. To be fair, A&M has the best pitching in the country, so you can kind of take solace in that. But I just saw that as a very winnable game. And in Omaha, if you get a winnable game against a good team, like you gotta win that game.
yeah,
But kind of shifting gears a little bit. We got a lot to talk about that next week as well, because I know a lot of things are going to happen this week in the regionals. So we'll have a lot more college baseball coming up. But shifting gears to the MLB a little bit, our New York Yankees just dropped a series to the Red Sox in pitiful fashion. But on the bright side, we got Garrett Cole coming back.
yep. No, but outside of this abysmal series versus the Red Sox, it's honestly been unprecedented year. It looks like Judge and Soto are pretty much Maris and Mantle, going for home run records. It's
Better than
ridiculous.
Shohei and
And
Betts.
you can honestly tell they're feeding off of each other's energy. It was a big question mark. Soto coming in on a 1-year deal. Is he going to want to stay in New York? Is he just here to prove himself and get a bag? It looks like he's loving what Judge is doing as the
He's getting
captain.
that
He's
bag.
loving the energy. He's loving the fans, the bleacher creatures. He's loving everything about it. Going
He's
to
made for New York.
statistics a little bit. We're 13-5 in our last 18. We dropped 2 to the Dodgers at home, 2 to the Red Sox at Fenway, and 1 to the Royals. Other than that, for me, the only question mark is the bullpen. And it's lately been really shaky. It starts with the back end.
Yeah.
Clay Holmes has not been nearly the all-star closer he is. We don't have a firm setup man. Ron Marinacio's, whatever. Caleb Ferguson is not even a real pitcher. Tommy Canely might be 45. Like, I think personally, we like need to make a move if we want to win this year.
Oh, we'll 100% make a move. And we keep saying we because if you guys can tell, we're both huge Yankees fans.
Huge.
But yeah, no, the Yankees certainly need to make a move. Um, it'll be bullpen. I don't think anybody's going to hit the panic button right now, though, because I keep seeing all these trade talks and everyone's like, oh, this guy's unavailable. Oh, this team has no interest in trading this guy. And it's like, why do people act like the trade deadline isn't fucking July 30th? Like, people act like it's next week. Like, you're gonna tell me someone's unavailable on June, what is it, June 16th? Like, get out of here. Like, I think that everything's gonna shift up once it actually starts getting past the All-Star break and stuff. Teams realize they're out. Teams realize they have no shot. Like, people are gonna start trading people. But I don't expect it to happen anytime soon. And I think the Yankees will hold on. They'll keep winning with their shaky bullpen, but 100%. I think we need to bring in at least 2 bullpen pitchers to like truly compete with the Orioles. For one, the Orioles are fucking killing it. You got the Phillies out in the NL, but I think we can compete with them. But we just need to fix some of these holes. The Yankees team is extremely talented, but there's definitely a lot of holes. And just obviously this isn't necessarily a Yankees podcast, but it is our favorite team, so we're going to harp on them a little longer. But let us know in the comments if there's any MLB topics in specific or teams in specific you want us to kind of do a more in-depth review in the future. Because, if you guys want us to hear us give you in-depth talk about the Yankees every week, we could do that. Certainly. I love doing that. I love ripping apart my own team as well as loving them when they're doing fantastic. But if one of you guys out there wants us to give a deep dive into what the fucking Colorado Rockies should do, I'm perfectly willing to do that too.
There's not one Rockies.
I'm perfectly willing to do that too. So just let us know what MLB content you guys kind of want from us. I love talking all things MLB. It can be even general too. It doesn't even have to be a team. But yeah.
Let's get into NBA finals. So just to let you guys know, me and Austin are diehard Knicks fans. Any Knicks fans out there? What's up, everyone? Shout us out in the comments. We love to talk Knicks ball. We're gonna have a lot of Knicks takes. Sorry about that if you don't want to hear them. Again, comment your teams, comment your favorite players. Let us know what you want to hear about, and we'll cover it. But so getting back into the Celtics series, Celtics honestly looked unstoppable this whole playoffs. I know there's been some injuries. They cruise out to a 3-0 lead. Game 3, a little controversial. I kind of want to hear your take on this. It's close down the wire. Luka, 5 fouls, playing defense, gets called for a 6th foul with about 4 minutes left. In my opinion, you can't be fouling out a superstar like that. But I'll hear what you got to say about it.
Yeah, I agree. Was a little bit of a ticky-tack call. I always kind of would rather whistle in the pocket more often than whistle deciding factor. Now, if Lucas stays in that game, do they win it? Like, it's not guaranteed. But no, I would have erred on the side of not fouling out the superstar. And I also think the criticism, like, I understand the criticism of Luka, and he hasn't been necessarily – he's had his issues in this finals, especially on the defensive end. But I think it's been a little too over the top, too harsh. And I'm not saying that in terms of like, being soft or anything like that, but I'm just saying like, I feel like we've seen more dramatic, like reasons for teams losing in finals and stuff, but they are just so hyper focused on this, like that Luka's the reason they're losing. And it's like, bro, they would not even be close to this position without Luka. Like, I get he has his issues. He's not a perfect player, but I mean, I just don't understand where that came from. That narrative was so crazy, and everyone wanted to get on him for that ticky-tack foul. He has been doing a little bit of bitching, but he's clearly frustrated, especially in that game 3, and they go down 3-0 at home, but they come back and blow him out in game 4. And the same thing just happened in hockey too, which we'll touch on in a little bit, but looking like identical scripts right now. But yeah, it's kind of interesting what I'm seeing. I would agree with you though. You probably don't foul out the superstar. It's just an easy decision as a ref. You're gonna get less flack. You don't call a foul there. Like, I don't know. Like, I guess he was moving. I mean, what they call it? They called it a blocking.
It's a block.
I guess he was moving, but like I don't know, two guys going to the floor like that, kind of ticky tack. I
Especially
might
the
just stick
Mavs
a
are
whiskey in
losing. The
my
Mavs are
pocket.
losing there. Like that
Yeah,
call is not like winning the game. If the
yeah,
Mavs
it's
like
not. It's
don't
not like
get that
crucial.
foul call, they're not like, oh, they won the game. It's like the game's still competitive if Luka's in it. Now you got like Tim Hardaway Jr. out here doing cardio instead. Like no one wants to
Don't
watch
get me
that.
started with that guy,
Yeah. Um
Knicks legend.
just a quick note. We had a big passing in the NBA. We really want to acknowledge it. The logo, Jerry West, one of the most influential people of all time. One of the most iconic, outside of Jordan and LeBron. Really sad. He was pretty old. So he lived a good life. I'm glad we're 21 now. I'm glad we got to see, his highlights, him talk in person. Obviously videos. We've never been to
I loved
Jerry
what he did
West.
as a GM, honestly, and just be in the front office and just in the front office of organizations.
Yeah.
Um, I think that stuff is really cool as well, just as cool as his playing career. I mean, I don't know how they officially listed, but I think he got in the Hall of Fame like twice, once as a player, once as a front office executive or something like
Yeah.
that. And um, I mean, that's just super cool. Obviously, one of the most influential people in basketball. He's literally the logo. So, yeah, big RIP to him. Good to hear that he apparently passed away peacefully next to his wife. So, good to hear that at least. But moving on to the Stanley Cup Finals, big game
Yeah.
5 coming up, 3-1 series now. I'm not gonna lie, I still think the Panthers will win this series, but I thought this series was completely over. After after the first 2 games, honestly, but then when they beat them at home in Edmonton, I'm like, damn, the Panthers just are the better team. I mean, in every facet of the game, it looked like they were dominating, the better goaltender, the better forecheck. You know, like
Yeah.
even though Edmonton supposedly has the better offense, it really looked like Panthers were outperforming them on the offensive end. McDavid was a ghost for a little bit in that series, and I was like, this series is over. It might be a sweep. Edmonton comes out and just nukes them 8-1, which you
Yeah.
never see in hockey. That's like the equivalent to losing by 60 points in basketball. Like, I don't even know what to think. I mean, I think that the Panthers probably wrap this up game 5 at home, but I will say that if the Panthers don't wrap this up at game 5, this series is going to 7, and that's going to be that. I mean, you know how hockey is. Hockey is very much, it's not necessarily like basketball where it's like, all right, you get blown out, kind of bounce back. Hockey's like, it's truly anybody's game from game to game. It could be a matter of how the puck bounces, So um, I'm very, very interested to see what happens in game 5. I think that's pretty much going to be the biggest game of the series.
Yeah. So I'll say after game 1, I thought it was over from then. Bobrovsky looked like a top goalie of all time, which,
Jesus.
he is. But what a performance in game 1 of a Stanley Cup. You have the best offensive player in the league, and you're forechecking him. You're playing physical. You have to Chuck out there pushing him whenever he can. And, as much as people hate to Chuck, it's a great thing for the team. Gets the team fired up. Puts it in the other opponent's minds. But after Bobrovsky's making saves left and right like that, it really takes the air out of the
Until we
team.
bet on him.
Oh, of course. And then
Until we bet on him, then he doesn't get the 24.5 saves. But,
and then he gets his 7 shots on goal, and that's how it goes. But I kind of just want to touch on, so they win game 3. Everyone's like, all right, Panthers sweep, it's over. And I would say it's, you have the biggest blowout finals game in NBA history with the Mavs beating the Celtics. You have the biggest NHL Stanley Cup win in history with the Oilers winning 8-1. I don't know if it's just me. It's a little suspicious. Game 4, avoiding a sweep with record-breaking history. That's just me. But in terms of the series outlook, again, I definitely agree with you. If the Oilers take game 5 in Florida, game 6 at home is going to be wild. The fans are going to be rowdy. McDavid's going to be fired up, probably playing the most time he's played in any game this year. He wants a game 7. He wants to cement his history. And frankly, this is the best team they've ever had around him. The options are actually ridiculous. Stuart Skinner, who got benched earlier in the playoffs, is actually playing pretty well. So I think for McDavid, if he doesn't get it here, it's going to be really tough to win with the Oilers for him in the future.
Yeah, definitely. kind of now or never type shit. It also gets harder with the money. So yeah, interested to see what happens in Game 5. I think
For
that's
sure.
the make or break game of the series, to be honest. Now moving on to another segment, we're gonna call it Sideline Stories. It's kind of a segment where we're just gonna. I know we mentioned some things up top there too, but I think it's this segment we really kind of want to focus on the off the field news, specifically pertaining to signings, new contracts, um, things that are happening off the field, whether that's even drama related sometimes. But I think we mostly want to keep it based on front office moves and stuff, trades, things like that. I think this segment's going to be really popping off um, in a few weeks here when the NBA finals wrap up and NBA free agency takes place. We'll have a ton to talk about in this segment.
It's a
But
great
right
segment.
now, we've got a few deals in football. We've got Trevor Lawrence getting his new 5-year, $275 million extension, tying him for the highest paid quarterback in history with Joe Burrow. Um, that's a pretty crazy deal to me because, obviously they think they have their franchise guy there. He probably is their franchise guy. But in terms of what he's done so far, I know they haven't necessarily always had much around him, but um, I don't know if I would have jumped gun. It feels kind of like a little bit rushed in a sense that, I mean, they kind of lost some things this offseason, added some things, but how much flexibility do they have going forward with this contract? For a guy who's put up essentially Daniel Jones numbers, I think we were looking at,
Yeah.
um, and he gets scrutinized for that 3-year contract all the time. Kind of interesting to see how this one plays out. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, first off, with the Trevor Lawrence, Daniel Jones comparisons, I think it's more similar than people want to give it credit for. Daniel Jones was
Oh, it
touted
is.
as top 10 after he beat the Vikings in the playoffs a few years ago. And then he faces,
I
awful
saw him.
offensive line. He faces injury problems last year, and suddenly he's ranked as like below 32 quarterbacks in the league. I don't really get it. But going back to T-Law a little bit, he's probably a top 5 talent in the league. It's whether, they can put a good coach who can build him. Obviously, Urban Meyer, his focus is off the field. Um, if they get an offensive line, they get a good head coach who can kind of gear him into like the specific
Well, they
quarterback
got
he
Doug
needs to
now.
be. I think he's trying to like be a little bit too much of like a quarterback, someone that everyone wants to see. Like he's trying to do like a lot of mobility, crazy throws, Mahomes esque. I think he just needs to like focus on his pocket passing, take the hits. It's kind of a mental thing for him. I think he doesn't want to get hit. He doesn't want to stand in the pocket tall, even though he's 6'5". Um, but yeah, so giving him
Yeah.
52.5 million a year. It's what the quarterback market is these days. It's whenever a good young
Yeah.
quarterback is up for it, he gets the most money of all time. And
hmm
yeah, I think so. Next, it's looking like Tua is going to be next.
Yeah, I think Tua's next in line for that big deal, and we'll see how Dolphins fans feel about that. I don't know if is there a chance that gets done this offseason? Um,
Um, Not
I don't
entirely
know. I
sure.
think if I'm the Dolphins, I'm 100% waiting till next season to even think about
Yeah,
it. But I mean, I don't know what they're thinking in there, especially now that T Law got paid. You never know how Tua is going to react to that. But yeah, kind of sticking with this deal. I agree with you. I think he tries to do too much a lot of the time. Like, there's nothing wrong and you can win in this league being, a Kirk Cousins. And the thing about T Law is he's more mobile than a Kirk Cousins. So if he can like master being that type of, Kirk Cousins, like get his basics and fundamentals, like you said, he's what, like 6'6". Like if he can
yeah.
just settle down and get those basics right, then look to use his athletic ability. I mean, he can be a great quarterback. I can definitely see him being a top 10 quarterback at his peak, but I just think they paid him a little early. I don't think it's necessarily going to be a bad deal if they can build a team around him, like you said, and they got Doug Peterson in there now, so if he can get the team coached up well, but it's
It
interesting to see. I know they lost Calvin Ridley this offseason, but who did they brought in a receiver, didn't they? I can look it up real quick because I don't remember. But I know
Yeah.
they brought in. I think they brought in someone else, but either way, they still got ETN there, and they still got weapons for him. So he should still be successful. He's in a tough division now, though, because I mean, you got the Colts coming up, and you got the Texans who've kind of arrived, as people say. I think they're a little overrated, but they're still going to be a good team for sure. But they got a tough division now, so it'll be interesting to see how he reacts in there.
Yeah, going off the Doug Peterson point, so a lot of people don't know this, but he's often referred to as the quarterback whisperer. He's known
So is
for
Adam Gase. So is Adam Gase.
he's known for
Fucker.
taking quarterbacks to the next level. Carson Wentz was MVP bound in 2018 before he had a season-ending torn ACL, and it's funny because T-Law reminds me of a pre-injury Carson Wentz. Exactly, the frame, the athletic ability. It's like to a T. So let's hope we can see what we saw out of Carson Wentz with him.
Okay, this is what I was thinking of before we move on. They didn't sign anyone, but they drafted Brian Thomas out of LSU.
Yeah,
That's what I was thinking of to kind of replace the Ridley. So we'll see how he is. He, first round draft pick. So we'll see how he pans out. He could certainly be a weapon for T Law in there, and they've already got Kirk. So yeah, will be interesting. I think the Jaguars, I mean, they always kind of sit around mid, in my opinion, but we'll see if they can finally take a step forward and make some noise in the playoffs. But moving to another deal, and this is kind of the opposite, a little team-friendly deal. CMC signs a 2-year, $19 million extension, I think it was, or $19 million a year extension, 2-year, about, what is that, like 38 mil? Yeah, 2-year, 38 mil deal. I mean, obviously it's a fantastic deal. That takes him pretty much right up to the end of what a running back's peak would be. He'll probably have
reset
a few
the
more
market, in my opinion.
that, but resets the market a little bit, brings some value back to the position, which is good to see. I think, I mean, yeah, that's a great deal for the 49ers. They do so much with him, and they still have all their other weapons, even with him. Keep CMC happy. He's been healthy. He was so injury prone in Carolina, but with like all the good blocking he gets in San Francisco, it's been crazy to see the turnaround with how healthy he's been and how he's just now back-to-back years been such a crazy producer, pretty much going to be the consensus #1 pick in fantasy. So yeah, I mean, that's a great deal for them, and the 49ers stay dangerous.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. The Madden curse, obviously. So people are thinking this year, like, is CMC, like, is he built different? Is he gonna?
He's built different.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem if I have
Madden curse won't affect him.
Going back
I
to
saw
the
a tweet. It
contract,
was like,
too,
I saw a tweet. It was like 49ers fans worried about the Madden curse, yet they just take L's in the championship, and not or the fucking NFC championship every goddamn year and choke. So like, what kind of Madden curse are they worried about, bro? Like, they choke every year anyways. They got to get over the hump and deal with it.
Yeah. I was gonna say, it's a point to think about. He takes a so-called pay cut as similar time as he's revealed as the cover athlete. You think there's any implications with the money coming in from Madden that he's like, all right, I don't need extra money, or you think like it's just he's doing this to the team?
I don't know. It's hard to say. Everyone's a little different. For some guys, it's just more important. Like, I would say CMC's made money at this point in his career. And he seems like, he's a good, he's got good character, and he's like a good dude. I mean, I think it's probably more important for him to win a Super Bowl, at this point in his career. Like, if he wants to like look at his legacy, I mean, he's already a Hall of Fame running back. Like, he has those numbers, I would say, especially if he keeps running like this for another few years. But winning, I mean, what does he have left to do but win a Super Bowl? Like, maybe try to win an MVP, but which they clearly will never give him because he should have won it last year. But yeah, I think, I don't know if the Madden deal has anything to do with that. I just think it depends on the guy. Some people, are just going to make as much money as possible in their career, which is their right, and it's perfectly fine. Some people focus a little more on legacy when they get a little older. I think he's kind of in that stage. He's obviously in a great situation on the 49ers, so there's no reason for him to squeeze them for money and make them a worse team while he's getting older. So, yeah, it'll be good for them. I'll say, though, he's unfortunately the second best running back in the league this year when Breece Hall surpasses him and wins Offensive Player of the Year. So,
We'll
but
see,
anyways,